Hi everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel. The purpose of this video is to guide you about retention labels and label policies that are part of compliance features on Microsoft 365. I will discuss about the implementation, management, and troubleshooting of retention labels. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. First, we need to understand what is retention label. So unlike retention policies, which are defined to target an entire mailbox or an entire SharePoint site, retention labels are primarily used to apply on specific emails or specific files in a SharePoint site or OneDrive. So for example, let's say there is a retention policy applied to a mailbox which deletes any emails older than a year. And now you wish to prevent some emails from getting deleted automatically. In that case, you can create a new retention label and set the retention period to, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or depending upon your requirement. And then apply the retention label to the emails that you wish to retain for more than a year. I'll show you how to create a retention label during the demo later in this video. In case you are not familiar with retention policies, you can go through a video that I recently posted, and I'll leave the link for the same in the description box. Let me now discuss about the permissions that you need to manage retention labels. You can either assign compliance admin role to the users, which will then allow them to manage all the features on Microsoft Purview portal. Or in case your organization follows least permissions model, then you will need to create a new role group and then just add the role called retention management to it. Finally, add the required users to the newly created role group as members. I would now like to discuss about the retention label policies. Creating the retention labels alone do not mean they are published. So you will have to create retention label policies, and only then they will start appearing on Exchange mailboxes, SharePoint sites, OneDrive, and Office 365 groups. Another thing to note here is if you added a retention label or the label policy which is already applied to content, then the updated settings will be automatically applied to the content in addition to the content that's newly identified. Alright, now let me discuss about the licensing requirements. So a user must have one of the below licenses to be able to apply retention labels. And as you can see, this is the complete list of licenses. If you'd like, you can take a screenshot of this screen so that you have the list in handy. I will then show you how to apply a retention label on emails in an Exchange online mailbox and how to apply labels on documents in a SharePoint site and OneDrive. Finally, I will demonstrate on how to use a retention label using the inbox rule in an Outlook desktop client. And lastly, I'll share a couple of troubleshooting steps that you can follow in the event if labels don't start appearing even after publishing them. Let me now take you to the Microsoft 365 compliance portal, which is now Microsoft Purview portal. I am now logged in to the Microsoft Purview portal, and in the left navigation bar, I'll scroll down and I'll select Data Lifecycle Management. I'll then choose the third option, which is Labels. As you can see, I've already got a couple of labels created. So to create a new one, I'll simply click on Create a Label. And then I need to put a meaningful name here. So the next two boxes are optional, so I'll just leave them blank. I'll hit Next. So here I have been given with three options. I'll tell you what each one does. So if I select the first option, which is retain items forever or for a specific period. So you can choose this option if you wish to retain items for a specific period of time or indefinitely. Let's say an organization wants to retain emails for only 3 years or 4 years and so on, and then they want retained items to be deleted automatically. Then this option is ideal for them. If I talk about the second option, which is enforce actions after a specific period. So you choose this option to specify an action after the retention period is over. Let's say you want to relabel items or delete items after a specific period, then this option is best for you. Now let me talk about the last option, which is just label items. So you can choose this option just to label the items. And once labels are applied, items won't be retained or deleted. Okay. So just for the purpose of this demo, I'll leave the first option selected and then I'll click on next. So here you can define the retention period. So if I click on the drop down, you have different options that you can choose from, or you can click on custom to define a period depending upon your organization needs. Okay. Now the next option is when should their period begin? So basically it talks about the retention period. So again, you have got few options. The first one is when items were created. So the retention period will be considered from the date the items were created, whether it's a new email that you send receive or a new document that you create on SharePoint or OneDrive. Similarly, you have got other options that you can choose from. Now I'll just click next. So here it wants you to take an action after the retention period is over. So you have got different options that you can choose from. The first one says delete items automatically. This means once the retention period is over, which is specified in the last step, then items will be deleted automatically. Okay. Now the next option is start a disposition review. This means once the retention period is over, an email will be sent to the reviewer and that reviewer can decide whether items should be deleted or a label should get changed. Okay, so you can create a stage and a reviewer by clicking on this option. Add a stage. Let's say I'll just put LM, which is line manager. I'll hit OK. Now here you can define the users as reviewers. So it can be a mail enabled security group or an individual. Let's say I want to go with an individual. I'll just put their email address here and I'll hit OK. Now, once the retention period is over, an email will be sent to this admin. Okay. Now, the next option is change the label. This simply means once the retention period is over, the label will get changed. So you can select the label that you would like to replace with from this list. Okay, you can select anyone, click add. That's it. As you can see, it now shows the label. The last option is deactivate retention settings. So if you choose this option, that means label items won't be retained or deleted. So technically no action will be taken once the retention period is over. So I'll just select the first option and I'll hit next. I'll click on create label. Okay, label is now created and now it wants me to publish the label. So for this, we have got different options to publish, but here I'll just click on do nothing and I'll show you the other way of publishing a label. So this is the label that we just created. As you can see, it says retain content for 7 years. And now I would like to publish it. So I can simply click on publish labels. I can then choose the label that I just created and then click add. And now I'll hit next. So here it has given me two options to choose from. The first one is adaptive and second one is static. So if I go with adaptive, I can then define a specific set of attributes, and then once done, it will then look for all the users in my organization with those specific attributes and then apply the label to only those users. So I'll just show you how exactly it needs to happen. So I'll just click next. Here I can select scopes. So scopes is nothing but the set of attributes that we have to define. So let me just show you how exactly you can create a new scope. So under the data lifecycle management, you have an option called adaptive scopes. You can click on create scope, put any name here. So for example, I would like to target a specific set of users who have an attribute called department. Let's say I'll call it technology. So any user whose department is technology will be targeted. I'll just click submit and now it's created. So I'll simply go back. I will just close it, click on add scopes, and here you go. Tech, add, next. Okay, before I hit next, let me go back. And yeah, so as you can see, this label once published will get applied to Exchange mailboxes and OneDrive accounts. If in case I do not want this label to be published on OneDrive accounts, I'll simply toggle this off and I'll hit next. I'll put a name here to the label policy. So technology users retain for 7 years. You can put any name here depending upon your organization requirements. Hit next, submit. So once I click on submit, this label will get published. Now I'll just show you the other way of publishing it by selecting on static. So I have to click on cancel here and I'll again click on publish labels. I'll choose the label, hit next, and now this time I'll choose static. So here it wants me to either select a specific location or it's going to publish on all the locations that are mentioned here, which is Exchange Mail, Office 365 groups, OneDrive, and SharePoint documents. So let me just go with all locations, hit next. Here you can define a name for this label policy. So I'll just put retain for 7 years policy. I'll hit next. So as you can see, once I click on submit, it will take up to a day for labels to appear for your users. So, and another thing is for Outlook users, they should have at least 10 megabytes of data and only then labels will start appearing. Okay, so I'll just click on submit. So as you can see, it now says your retention label was published. I'll click on done. Okay, so for the purpose of this video, since I already had a couple of labels created, I'll now take you to one of the users over and show you how exactly a user can apply labels to specific emails. I am now logged in to one of the users over, and as you can see, there are few emails here. So on one of the emails, I've already applied the retention labels, and as you can see, this particular email says retain content for 3 years. So this email is going to expire on July 19th, 2025. So for example, you would like to apply the retention label to any other email, you'll simply need to right click on the email and then click on advanced actions, select the second option, which is assign policy, and then select the desired retention label. So there could be possibility that an organization may have multiple retention labels. So they'll select the label from this list here. Once applied, there will be a mail tip on top of the email which will have the retention label name. So as you can see, this mail tip just started appearing. It wasn't there earlier. So similarly, you can also apply the retention label to folders as well. You can simply right click on the folder, then click on assign policy, select the label that you wish to apply. So now all the emails within this folder will get this retention label applied. Okay. Now I'll take you to the user's OneDrive and show you how you can apply retention labels over there. So right now I'm under the Microsoft Teams chats file. So for example, I would like to retain this particular file. I can simply click on these ellipses icon, which is three dots. I'll click on details, and here, as you can see, there is an option that says apply label. So I'll click on this, and now I can see the labels here. So I can, let's say, if I would like to retain this particular file for 5 years, I'll select the second one that says retain SP sites for 5 years. So similarly, if I would like, I can also apply the label to the folder as well. I can simply click on the ellipsis icon and then I'll click on details. So as you can see, there is an option that says apply label. I can choose a label depending upon my requirement. I'll now take you to the SharePoint and show you what exactly a user can do when it comes to applying a label. So this SharePoint site has got a couple of folders. Let's say I'll go with general. I'll click on ellipsis. I'll then click on details. So the rest of the steps are same. As you can see, I can click on any of the labels depending upon my requirement. And once applied, the content will get retained for the amount of uh, period which is defined on the retention labels. Okay. All right. Now coming on to the Outlook desktop client. Let's say there is a requirement wherein user would like to retain all the incoming emails by applying the retention label. So in that case, user will need to create a rule by clicking on this rule option here and then click on manage rules and alerts. From here, user will need to click on new rule, select the option as apply rule on messages I receive, then hit next. Now I do not want to select any conditions, so I'll just simply skip it and I'll click next. Here in the list of actions, I'll select the last action, which is apply retention policy. Then I'll select the retention policy here. And now it will list down all the labels that I have in my organization. And since the newly created retention label that we created just now is not even a hour old story, so it will get published by tomorrow. So for now, I'll just select the one that I have. I'll click apply and then I hit next, finish. So this rule has been now created. This means any new email that this user will receive will have the retention label applied, and as per the retention period, the emails will be retained for 3 years. Okay, I'll just click cancel now. Let us now discuss about ways on how you can troubleshoot issues around label policies and retention labels. So before you run any command, you have to make sure that you are connected to the security and compliance PowerShell module by running this command, which you can see on the screen. Once you hit enter, it will prompt you to provide your administrative username and password. Once you are done with the username and password, you will then need to run this command, which is get-retention compliance policy. Once you hit enter, it will list down all the retention label policies. Please keep in mind though that it will not display the retention label name itself. Instead, it will show us the label name policy. Okay. So once you have figured out the policy which is not getting distributed, you will then have to run another command, which is get-retention compliance policy, followed by the policy name, which is not getting distributed. So for example, let's say if this policy which I created today is not getting distributed, I can simply use the switch called retry distribution and I'll hit enter. Since there is no issues with this policy, that's the reason this command is not getting run. Okay, but ideally you should run this command whenever there is an issue. All right, moving on. Now the other issue that may occur is from the user's perspective, that they are not seeing the label even after publishing it successfully. Okay, so for the impacted user, you will need to connect to Exchange Online module by running the command called connect-exchange online. Okay, so once you are connected, you will need to run this command, which is start-managed folder assistant, I'm sorry, space followed by the user's email address. And once you hit enter, this command will fetch all the policies that exist on the server, but for some reasons user is not seeing in their mail client, whether it's Outlook or it's over. Okay. Once you run this command, it may take some time before user can start seeing those labels that he or she is currently not seeing. I hope you like this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos. Thank you.